if you look at Google, Apple, or Salesforce.com, it's more easier to use and user friendly. So Qlikview brings that to BI scope, and it calls it business discovery. It's leading in the Gartner report. It basically empowers the consumer to search, social network, app. It's an app-based model and mobility. These are the trends in the market now, and it covers most of it. It's a business user-driven BI. Generally, till now, BI has always been a IT-driven product. Generally, IT configures the databases, configures the reports, and the users extract it and modify it to their needs. But Qlikview is more into IT, business user-driven. The business user can participate in developing the. Basically, Qlikview changes the entire scope. It enables the business users to create their own analysis. The point I was in is this is the traditional BI, and Qlikview changes the role. So it enhances the users. It enables business users to create analysis, and the IT role is basically data preparation and governance. So, and that gives a lot of flexibility for the business. It's like co-create, communicate, explore together. It's capable of being viewed on any mobile platform because it's a browser-based access. So you don't have any restrictions. It's just HTML. So this is the basic layout of the entire Qlikview architecture, or maybe a Qlikview deployment in an organization. Okay, I just want to confirm, am I clear or am I very fast?
For me, it's okay.
So generally you have your databases, and Qlikview practically now can connect to any database, any kind of a database, even for the big databases. So we have connectors, we can get data out of it. So you have your databases. From there you have this is the typical Qlikview environment. You have a Qlikview server which extracts data and stores it in the memory. And like I hope everybody is aware, Qlikview is an in-memory application. I mean, if you have done any research on it, it basically promotes itself as a first in-memory business intelligence solution. So whatever data is extracted is loaded to the RAM of that particular server. So you have a Qlikview server component. So just like the Windows Server 2008, so you get a software called Qlikview server. You install it on a server. When the loads happen, the data is loaded to that memory of that particular server. So you have Qlikview publisher. This basically enables the scheduling, reloading, refreshing the data. Maybe in the trainings we can cover more on this. And the other part is the Qlikview developer. It's basically who develops data, graphs, charts. Again, there are two different ways of it. Then you have the Qlikview management console. It's nothing but a browser-based control for the server and the publisher to control and manage. Again, there are a lot of, the best way to connect to databases is ODBC. For SAP, we have a separate connector. It is called an RFC connector, which enables Qlikview to talk to SAP. Then we have partnered with Informatica. So whenever your ETLs happen, Informatica can push data to Qlikview. Once all this data is loaded into the Qlikview server, the users access the access point applications through the server. So it's basically they connect to that server, and through the access point they can do it. Qlikview has its own Qlikview web server which manages the hosting of these applications. In case you want to override it and use your Windows ISS, you can also use that. So this forms the IT part, and this forms the developer and the designer part. And these are the business users. So there are defined roles, different roles. From what I understand from this group is basically everybody is doing database management and database development. So I'll just let you know where exactly the roles fit in. Okay, to start with IT Qlikview, as per me, I've divided into three things. One is the IT team, then the developer, and the designer. The IT team is basically admin, controlling installation, connections, server, publisher, administration. Developer is basically how you're doing your SQL development now. It's like designing data models, creating, extracting data, shaping that into a proper star schema or a snowflake schema. Then you have a designer where you design those graphs, the front layer. Ideally, these two are done by one person, the developer and the designer. But for more defined roles, you can split it. So you can concentrate more on the data part. If you are an expert in the database analysis, like structuring the data, creating data models, basically data modeling, you can do the developer part at an extreme level and give the designer to the business users. When I say business users, people who are already using advanced analysis in Excel and all. So they would be able to learn this designer part and do it. My training covers most of it in all the three parts. Like from the scratch, developer, designer, and also the IT. IT, I minimize it to around 50% of the entire IT part. Developer, I cover again like 60 to 70%. Designer, again 60 to 70%. Now the other 30 or 40% is the most advanced. Maybe if I start covering that now, it wouldn't add value to your training. Maybe for that we'll have to do a separate training. Yeah. To show you what I would be covering is this. So maybe you can look at it. For a developer, we'd start with the script editor, loading data into Qlikview using files. Then what are the data sources that we can connect, then reload. This will be from the scratch. So it's basically how do you start building an application. That is what it's going to tell you. And Sajid, for you, maybe we'll have a separate discussion. So I think you would have covered all these things.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to understand what exactly you want to learn, and we'll have a different discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this is what I was going to say. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
for others, I hope these all add value. I mean, does anybody else has worked with these things?
No, but I installed the Qlikview by myself and I'm trying to explore.
Okay, cool. So I think this will be, this is from the scratch basically. So from the script, explaining what the script editor is to how do you load data. So it also explains I will also help you with few best practices. As I told, I will be covering around 60% of the entire thing. Again, I can't tell you that this is 100%. In my opinion, what 100 or like advanced levels, I would keep it for a later stages. So maybe this will enable you to build a application in Qlikview from scratch and present it exceptionally. Now when you go to advanced levels of enterprise deployments, I'm sure as all your experiences speak, you would be even in a better position to do it yourself at advanced level. So you would not need more training to it, because you know advanced scripting, SQL, you know database concepts, you know how to do data modeling. So based on the experiences that I heard, my opinion is you would be able to get to the advanced levels very quickly. And the designer is basically the front end showing, right? Yeah, this is the developer part, the data modeling and all. Then there is a designer topic where you design the layouts on the front end. How do you design the graphs? How do you make the boxes? How do you put expressions, calculations of analysis? So you have the most powerful tool in Qlikview. This is called as a set analysis, and this is the best part of Qlikview. So this set analysis is not available in any other BI tool. Just to give you a brief, if you want to compare current month's data to a previous month data, in a typical traditional BI, you'll have to create cubes, extract data, then do all your scripting, then do analysis. This is just an expression-based.
This is done on the fly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this does not need more scripting. It just does the aggregation on the fly. So we'll cover this in the training. Then you have the multi-box. All these are how do you do layout. In administration bit, I'll give an overview of the Qlikview management console. That's called QMC. That basically manages your publisher, your server. How do you deploy the applications? How do you load it to the server? And managing folders, creating tasks, scheduling tasks, and adding users to the documents, basically access rights and all. or that would be it. And the most, even more advanced would be basically doing clustering and all. So that wouldn't be covered in this training.
Okay.
Yeah. So to begin with, we have just to give a demo as to how the training, or just to show how I could conduct training, I have find out a few topics for demo curriculum. Just let me know if you want to know anything else apart from these in the demo.
Yeah, basically, you know, you will be talking about architecture, right?
Yeah, not in the demo.
Not in the demo, fine. And also the product components.
Yeah, like product components in the sense.
Product components, you know, I have noticed that in your one of the slide you have given application server is in the presentation layer. Is it on the presentation layer or is it in the middle? If you go back to your presentation, I can.
This one, right? Yeah. This is the
yeah.
Okay.
Because each you know, tier, what are the applications it's now. For example, Qlikview server. Is it a separate product? Qlikview publisher, is it a separate product? And where exactly it sits? Is it which operating system? Things like that.
Okay. That Qlikview server is, yes, it's a separate product. Qlikview publisher is a separate product. But to run Qlikview, all you need is the Qlikview server. So this is where you load all your data, application, and host the basically files. Qlikview publisher enables you to scale. It is Windows-based platform.
Windows platform.
It's a Windows platform. So you can't install it on any other platform. So it's basically only Windows platform.
Windows Server 2008 or which version of Windows?
I think 2003 also helps. So any version basically after Windows 2003.
And what is the application server is IIS?
As I told, we have Qlikview web server. It's an inbuilt web server which manages the application server. Else you can combine it with Windows ISS.
No, why it is in the client? Why it is in the presentation? Presentation means it's a client layer.
Yeah, this is basically how do you deploy, host the websites. So it's in the presentation layer because these are the servers. I mean, this is basically what manages the applications at the front end. That's why they say, okay, this is the presentation layer. The application is Qlikview server is where you load all host your website. You know the concept of hosting website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the website is hosted on a server. So you connect to the server. How do you connect to the server? Through a IIS.
Correct.
Right?
So my question is, if I want to, you know, when I install Qlikview on my laptop, I did not install the Qlikview web server, is it? Or Windows IIS is not there?
Right.
No.
So as I said, yeah, this is the server. What you installed is a client. It's a client, developer client, Qlikview. So that is what you install on your laptops, and that is a free edition. The server is not a free edition. The Qlikview, whatever free edition you have got, you install it on your laptop. You can use the it has basically no restrictions, but only restriction is you will not be able to access any other files apart from the files that you have developed. So you can do any development on your laptop, but you can't open or access any other files developed by any other person.
Okay, so as per this diagram, I thought that data access is one layer and the application another layer, presentation is another layer. Actually, is it?
No, it's basically segregating what kind of like operations happen at each level. So it's not like okay, you have data access separate, you have application separate, you have presentation separate.
Yeah, I know.
You have
what I'm trying to say is that you know, in the traditional BI, you have a database on one layer and then semantic layer where business modeling takes place, and then the presentation. So in the presentation, you make use of various tools to connect with the semantic layer.
Yeah, that's basically the traditional BI. So Qlikview changes everything. Basically you have the client on your laptop that you have installed, the free version. That version is used to develop your applications, connect to the databases. The server just hosts that application that you have developed.
Okay.
Yeah. Over here, you are the Qlikview developer. You have the client. You connect to the databases. You create an application. When I say application, it's the document you create using the data and using Qlikview, and you load it to the Qlikview server's RAM using the publisher, and through the Qlikview access point, the users can access it.
Actually, the publisher part is optional, and that is only required for very large deployment and very scalability and all. Publisher is not required.
Yeah, exactly. Publisher is not required, but publisher is advised because if you want advanced scheduling options, like if you want to schedule every reloads based on triggers, reloads based on anything, you want to publish the reports through emails. So a publisher component is used. So it has defined roles. What do you need? All you need to start.
Incremental loading also, right?
Yes. Yeah, I can also.
Yeah, I'll be covering the basics of incremental loading.
Right.
So incremental loading is another topic in itself, is a big one. So I'll start with the normal, the concept of incremental loading. Maybe you can take it further from there, like practicing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. Quick question. Can you tell me the difference between QV doubles and QVD files? What are those like extensions?
Okay. Let me see if I have something nice thing for you. Okay, basically you have the client. So I think most of you have downloaded this Qlikview client. Yes. This is the Qlikview client on your laptops. So I have a basically local license key. You open a new document, you create this. Over here is where you connect to the database, extract data, modify data, create a data model. You can also create a layout, a dashboard layout. Let me see if I have some testers. So this is basically a dashboard. Over here you create all these analysis, all these analytics. You also have the data in this application loaded. This is the part where you do the scripting. You write the scripts to connect to the database. Over here we are extracting data from a file. Basically we are not connected to any database. It's all okay. We'll come to this. So you extract data from database, writing scripts like these custom scripts. You create a data model which will form like this based on the tables, the fact and the star schema that I was talking about. From here, once the data is in the memory, you do all your analytics, you design the graphs and all. Now this entire document is called as a Qlikview application, is what the terminology used. And this has a format QVW. It's a Qlikview file. And you save it. This is what typically will go into the server, and this is what the users would access through the browser. Now, every time if you want to refresh this, you want to load the new data, you'll have to reload this entire application. What it happens is it goes to the database, connects, extracts the data, and brings in the new data. Now if you do it every time to the transactional database, and the database is huge, the time taken to reload becomes very large. What Qlikview did was they have created their own optimized format of storing data, which is called Qlikview data format. It converts the normal database fields and the tables into columnar data and stores it into its own format called QVD. So if you see in this script, we are extracting data from a file called QVD. This file is not a read file. you can't basically open this file with any other application or open it normally. You will have to read it through a QVW file and load it. It is just like a table, how in a SQL how you have a table of data. It's a QVD is a file to store data in a Qlikview optimized format. Now if your QVW is reading data from the data table around 1 hour, it takes 1 hour to read data. From a QVD it will just take around 5 minutes. So it optimizes the data storage and extraction to a QVW file. There is another file format called QVX. Let me put this simple. QVD is store data and Qlikview optimized format. So there is a new format called QVX. This is also a storage file. Basically it stores data, but it is accessible by other applications, for example Informatica. So whatever data ETL Informatica does, it can convert it to a QVX and it can be created. And a QVD is always created by QVW using the scripts. Now how do we do it? I'll just show you an example of that in my demo. I hope I'm clear.
Yes.
Yeah, did this answer the question?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Basically, the QVW is the virtual warehouse. If you are comparing from the other BI products, this is the best part of Qlikview. QVW is considered as your virtual warehouse or the data storage, where you can have very large, very huge, huge data you can store in these files.
Data is stored in QVD, not in QVW, is it?
Yeah, it is stored in QVD. Yeah, but there are many versions you can, but eventually data comes into QVW from QVD.
No, okay. So basically what happens is this is database. From database you extract data and whatever dashboard you have to create is a QVW file. So when you extract data from database to QVW, it loads data into this QVW file, and this also stores the data as data.
Yeah.
Now you don't want to every time go from go to the database to fetch data. So you create an intermediate file which extracts data and stores it in an optimized format. So it's nothing but both definitely store data in them, but this is just the database. This also has a visualization capability. And this is what users access.
QVW.
QVW, right.
So QVW, when a client access, all the data gets initially loaded onto the local system, or only on demand it will?
It won't get get loaded on the local system. When you browse our website, it doesn't get loaded to your laptop, right? It's a internet-based access.
Right.
So you browse, right? So it's just the same logic. The data resides on the server RAM. So the presentation I showed it to you. So it resides on this Qlikview server component, and whenever a user accesses through the browser, it just fetches and displays the data.
Okay. What is the hardware requirement?
See, yeah, that's a good question. What happens is whatever data you have, as this is an in-memory analytics tool, and all the data is stored in the memory. So the hardware requirements is directly proportional to your database and also the number of users that would be accessing the data. So based on that you decide your hardware capability. So you have around 10 GB of data, so you decide for 10 GB of data to be in memory, how much RAM do I need. So there is a different calculation for that. you can't get exact values basically, but there's a approximate calculation that Qlikview has for it.
So does it mean that it requires more than resources than traditional BIs?
Not necessarily. It is like, see, it's only the RAM that is really required. So I don't think so. It is required more than the traditional BIs.
No, yeah, it doesn't actually. And you can start with very basic. You can start with very basic RAM, depending on your use.
If your database is less, you need very less RAM. If your database is more, you need more RAMs. The CPUs remain the same, so you just add RAMs. Now you have more processing or analytics that is involved in the layer, so you add more cores to process the same data. It is a scalable environment. It is nothing specific that you have to buy so much. You can start with a 4 GB RAM memory. So in fact, you can load the server on your laptop and host a small application. But again, as the users will grow, it will not support it. So you might have to increase your RAM. Then if the database grows, you'll have to increase it to a server capability. So there's no minimum requirements, but to begin with, I think 4 GB is the basic minimum as of now, and a multi-core processor. So just to begin, this is the QVW file. So whatever development you do, you open a new QVW file. To reload a file, you'll have to connect to the database and extract data. To extract data, QVW has always to be saved. So the best practice is whatever file you are creating, please save it first. So I say that first. Get this. This is the layout where you do all the graphical presentation layer. If you want to go to the script, there is something called a script editor over here on top. You go into the script editor. This is where you write all your queries, all your scripting to connect more data and all. Now when you're extracting tables, different tables from a database, you don't have to manually connect them. Based on the names and the primary keys, Qlikview automatically makes connections to them, provided the names are same. Now when you have two tables with two fields which have same names, it will create a synthetic key. It's nothing but a Qlikview way of handling composite keys. It doesn't harm your work, but it is not a best practice, or it is not advisable, because many-to-many relationships are not very well defined in a database concept. So it is always advisable to have one-to-one relationship. One-to-one in the sense one field, one primary key. So you have a main tab. This is a standard tab. This is nothing but setting variables of how your date format should be, how your month names, how your date names. You can edit them, but this is a global standard, so we let it be there. You can write your script over here. The basic scripting is nothing but SQL. This is like a modified SQL for Qlikview. All the SQL functions remain the same except for a few keywords and few key functions and variables over here. We'll get to know that in our training sessions. You have a data functions variable settings. Data is basically connecting to database. You have the database option, ODBC and whatever. If you have a SAP connector, it will show up over here. Then you can connect to any table files, basically Excel or Access or QVDs. Qlikview files will come to this. Then web files, if you want to connect to any web file or a field data. Relative paths is basically when you save this Qlikview in a path, in a folder, so and you refer to any other file in your folder, any other table file, Excel file. So it keeps a relative path variable over here, so that whenever you move the file, it goes with the folder. We'll get to learn that. Functions is basically all the functions that are available in Qlikview scripting for scripting. So you can use multiple group by, you have whatever aggregations you want to do. You have variables, whatever variables you create. Right now there are no variables for us. We'll start by extracting one database table. I already have created a ODBC DSN connection on my laptop for a database that is a SQL Express edition database. I mean, everybody knows how to create a DSN, right? I mean, or do I have to show that? No.
No, for me no.
Okay. So basically, if I'll just let you know what. Okay, it's not here. I think I got lost.
You have to go to administrative tools.
Administrative tools, right? Yeah.
ODBC.
So you get this data sources. Yeah, something called as user DSN or a system DSN. Basically, I have created the user DSN for SQL Server. You can add your server, this all server, and you just go ahead, give the name, the server, pick the server table, the server you want to access, and create it. Once this is created, the same is accessible over here. Now you pick the ODBC connection and connect. It'll ask for which database. Now mine was a SQL Express. Once the connection is successful, a string is created. So this is basically the connection for this application. Now you want to add tables to extract tables from this database. You can click on select. Hello?
Yes.
Are everybody able to hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
This, okay. So basically use the select option. It'll open up the database and show you all the tables available. So now this is the Express edition. This is the database. You can change whatever. If you have another database, you can select. This is the certifications database. Over here you have different tables. All the tables are listed in the database. To begin with, I'll just pick the sales order detail, or just to demonstrate better. I'll go with the sales order detail. And if you see here, there's a statement that is created, SQL select star from certifications. You just click add. Okay. Now this your SQL select statement is created. It basically does what? It extracts data, connects to the database table and extracts data. In Qlikview, you'll have to name the tables that you create after you extract data, and the naming is pretty simple. Maybe you can just sales order. You just type the name and a colon before this SQL select or the load statement, and you're good to go. We'll just test how this looks. You save the file, reload it, and you get that particular table in Excel form. So you have got all the entire data in that particular table. No aggregation, nothing. It's plain Jane table. We have the product ID. Now based on the product ID, I would need the product name, product subcategory, all that. So I'll have to get the dimension table product. Now this becomes my fact. I'll just get one small dimension table. Again, once the string is created, this ODBC connect, you don't have to do it again. You can just again go ahead, select. I go to the product. I have the product ID. I do add. I do OK. Again, I can name this table, or if I don't name, it's just going to take a generic without name table. So it's better to name it. For now, I'll just save it and reload it. In fact, you can reload it from this option itself. Reload. So you got 500 lines on this table. Now if I go look, so I loaded the product table, and I got, okay, I think my select statement had only the product ID. Okay, this is the problem. So you give a star, reload. So if you look at this, Qlikview automatically created a link between the product ID and the product ID based on the name. So this becomes the primary key between these two tables. Now similarly, I can get the sales order table with the sales order ID and link it. So that's how we create facts. You do that scripting and data modeling. Maybe in the training we'll be able to cover more. Now the second thing I wanted to demonstrate was how do we create QVDs. Now you load the table, all you'll have to do is store the table name into, again you can give table name QVD. So you reload this. Now it says, I mean what this executing script says is it connected to this SQL Express database. For this table it extracted these many records. So this is how you monitor when it is loading, and this is the started, elapsed, and how much time it did take. So it took around just 2 seconds to load around a lakh, I mean 100,000 lines. Now you want to see where did it store the QVD. So as I had used the relative part, this is my application QW file that I used to load the data, and in the same path the sales order QVD is loaded. Now this file is not accessible by any other file except from this, except for the Qlikview file. So if you want to see, we'll create a new instance. Qlikview is a multi-instance thing. Application, you can open how many ever instances of Qlikview you want. So create a new file.
But your data is there in QVW also, right?
Yeah, my data is there in QVW also.
Yeah, you don't have to.
For that, yeah, basically I'll come to that 1 second. So second app. Over here now I don't have to, once my data is there in the QVD, I don't have to do a connect or a select. All I can do is go to a Qlikview table file, go to that particular folder. Now I have the sales order QVD, open. Now it gives me an option for these, it shows me the preview of the data available in the QVD. I finish. Now if you see, for a database connection, it says select SQL select, basically a select statement, and for QVD or any other file, Qlikview is a load statement. What are the difference we'll learn in the training. Now this typically says directory, just change it to sales order. And that's it. From over here you can just save it, reload it. So last time when we loaded the data, okay, if you see these statements over here also, it's loading the data from sales order detail table from the database, and it took around 2 seconds. If you go to the same thing, now we are not able to see the performance difference over here, but it's almost half the time. It took 1 second, and it says QVD optimized format. So it's basically loading the data in the most optimized format, and it is faster. It does not have to connect to the database. Yeah, and for the question that the data is there in Qlikview file, now what we generally do is we create extractors. This is how you create extractors from data and convert it to QVDs. So once you have stored the QVD, you can just use a drop table statement. You can drop this particular table. If you see now, after creating the QVD, the data still resides in this file. Once you use the drop table, the data doesn't reside. So this becomes a blank QVW file. Now you name this one as an extractor and you use this. In this file you can have multiple connections, like I can have this product, uncomment, so you can use the same table name, store into the table, and you can say drop table. Either you can use one big statement, tables, and give both the tables, but the best practice is once you load and store it, you just drop it so that you don't load the file too much. I think I'll have to drop this table. So it loads both the tables, but both the tables are not available in this file. If you go to our training folder, so you see a product QVD and a sales QVD. Now why QVDs, how do they help? All these things I'll share in the training session. Basically, how can you use QVD? It's just to avoid going back to the database every often. So we'll do that. Over here, if you want to modify your data that comes from the database, you use you can actually okay, we'll come to the modifying first. I'll just show you how do you create probably a table box. Just you get all the fields that are loaded into the database. So if you see, this is my table that is available in the memory or in the QVW file. When you go to any other box or you want to create chart or a table box, I'm just trying to show simple things. You just bring in these fields that you want to display. You want the ship date, you want the unit price, you want the order contract. So basically you got the table. This is the plain Jane table. You want aggregation, you might have to pick on a chart. In chart there are different kinds of charts. For us we would need a straight table. So you give the product ID, then you give an expression, some quantity, or if you don't remember the field name, if you don't want to type in, you can actually make your statements from here. So you want to do a sum from table sales order. The field you want to pick is the order quantity, and you do a paste. So the script, the expression is generated automatically. So you say OK. Then you have all the modifications that you want, the sorting orders, the visualization, and you click. So this you get the sum aggregation based on product. So this is the layer. And you can convert this to a chart. So you copy paste it. There's the option flexibility for developer to copy paste or clone this object. Once you have done it, you want to switch to a bar graph. So you get this, you can change the style. You can create basically a scroll. So when the user clicks on this, he'll scroll it. You want the descending, you just do a, so this becomes of a descending chart. This is the layering. Now you want to aggregate these things at a expression level. Just for I'm loading the data from QVD into a temp table first. From temp table, I'll just load data star all data, but I'll pick my order quantity into unit price I just need this comma, as sales value. This is basically my expression. This is the calculation for my sale value. I'll have to multiply 2 fields to get the sales value. Now, what is this resident load? Yeah, I was coming to that. There are different kinds of loading statements in Qlikview. So one thing you saw is from the database. So let's go there. Is from, you get a from statement. It goes to the database, picks the table. Then there is another from statement which says sales order QVD. Again, you can have, instead of this QVD, you can have Excel file or any other file. If you go, a resident is, now you have loaded this table into this file. Now you don't want to again load this data to do this calculation from the file. Instead of doing, you can use the same data that is already loaded into the memory using the resident load. It says resident, the sales order temp. The order temp is already available in the memory. So you refer to the table which is there. If I'm right to compare it, it's basically in SQL you create view tables, right? While doing scripting, just temp tables you create so that you can do some aggregation on it. It's the same kind of a thing. Instead of connecting to the database or the file for the second time, you use the same table that is already loaded. Now I can have multiple sales detail. I can just pick any particular. I can just pick a product ID. Or product ID and due date.
So it will add a new rows to
Resident.
the existing file.
No, it will create a separate table. You see, I am creating a totally different table. So I'll just rename this as, I will connect this as new date, just to demonstrate. Resident sales order temp. This is basically creating 2 new tables. One is a sales order, another is a sales detail.
Okay.
And I've named this one will become sales order temp. What my logic was to create the table separately with the aggregation and drop this table. I'll tell you what will happen.
Yeah.
So you drop this sales order temp completely. So if you see, I'm using the star. It loads all these fields plus another field which will add to these many fields. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it will make a 11th field, which is the multiplication of 2 fields.
Okay.
If I have both the tables, if I have both the tables in memory, it is going to create synthetic keys. I don't need 2 tables, right? So I can drop off the first temp table. So I drop the temp table. I create this. Okay, you save, you reload. Okay, my drop statement was much before.
Yeah, before creating temp table.
I'll have to use this over here. Yeah, exactly. Right. So if you look at the background, my table with the 10 fields and the 11th field is called sales value is created, plus a new table is created with just the renaming. So it's basically using the temp table again and again instead of going back to the file and reloading it. And resident load is even more faster because the data is already available in the memory. You don't spend much time. Now creating variables has two statements. I mean, I think is this okay with the load statements? Maybe in detail we can do it in the training session.
I have a question on the residence load.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
How big the table can be in memory? What is the recommendation? I mean, if it has a million rows, can we still have a residence load?
Yeah, there's no restriction for anything. So then I told you, your database directly depends, the capability directly depends on the RAM of your machine that you're using. So your machine can handle 1 million, 10 million or 200 million rows. You can load the data into the memory. And there's no
No, I'm
restriction
not.
for this resident load.
Okay, no, I'm talking particularly on the residence load, because if one table is loaded with say 10 million rows and you are trying to access that multiple times in your script to load or do some
Right.
aggregation after
Exactly.
that. So it's going to take more memory. It's going to take more memory, right?
No, that is why we are using the resident load, because the data is already in the memory. We don't want to bring in the new data. So we use that same data to aggregate. That's why it is faster and it is better. And there is no restriction for it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why once the data is there in the memory, you use the same data that is available in the memory.
Okay.
And that is one of the reasons that we are dropping off the first table, so that we don't have two different tables with occupying space. So once you drop off the table immediately, the space becomes free. So it's basically programming techniques. We'll work on that. For creating variables in Qlikview, there are two statements. One is the set, and one is the second one is the let. I think it's the global definitions for this. Set is basically plain Jane set of what is A. You say 1 plus 2 . Okay, sorry, I didn't give any variable name itself. Value 1. So I set value 1 is equal to 1 plus 2. And there's a let statement, value 2 is equal to 1 plus 2. Any guesses what will the value 1 be in my variable? Hello? Any guesses what is the result gonna be for value 1 and value 2? Okay, I'll just reload and check. All the variables, whatever variables you use in script are available over here in the variable overview. So this is what happens. The value 1 is 1 plus 2 and the value 2 is 3. So that's basically the difference between set and let. So let evaluates the expression, whatever value you give. If you give 1 plus 2, it evaluates it. And set is basically plain Jane expression settings, so 1 plus 2. You want to refer this in your script. Set is, suppose you don't want this 1 plus 2. Yeah, now what happens is, like you want to set a value, you don't want it to be evaluated. You write an expression, okay, where like you want to use this 1 plus 2 in your expression, not the output of the 1 plus 2. Maybe you are using the set, you are using the variable to multiply, or you want to add 1 plus 2 separately. It has various, okay, now to explain it better, what happens is, you have your charts. In the charts you set variables, okay. Maybe you are using a variable which says max of date. So you have set this variable. You want this to be evaluated only at the place that you use it. So in a chart, properties, or maybe text box. you don't want this to be evaluated over there, and you just want it to be visible over here as max state. So you basically set it to max state. Now if I do the same thing to max state, let max of state, maybe shift it.
So Qlikview is not a case sensitive?
No. So it's not showing anything because it's basically evaluating it. Max of. I mean, this is the concept. It's used in basically charts to evaluate on the spot, and sometimes you don't want it to be evaluated, so you set the expression. I'll come back with a better example. Right now I'm not ready with the example for this.
No problem.
So, yeah. Set is like you set the value and you don't evaluate it. This is better used in the charts. You know what happens is when you have dimensions in your pivot chart. So you create a pivot chart, you have dimensions, and you want to evaluate a particular expression on that particular whatever dimension it is, and you don't want it to be a pre-calculated one. So that is when you set the value to that, and you make sure it calculates at that point with whatever dimension it has. So I have the example. Maybe I'll take time to search it. So maybe in training I'll cover that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about connecting and like loading data, storing data. Any other thing that you think? What I'll do is I'll just pick one demo. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
In fact, I don't know, it's the right forum to ask you this question. As I told you, just 2 weeks back I just downloaded this Qlikview and started trying out something. But there are certain strange things I'm coming into. I don't know whether it is because of my lack of knowledge or whether the problem with the product itself. For example, I have created a table, and in the table I have a column where I have to indicate a traffic light gauge.
Okay.
And this traffic light, based on the value, whatever I try to set, red, yellow, green, it doesn't change. It always shows black.
Okay. Okay, maybe something that it's basically how you have designed it. So you say if your sales are this, you want a traffic light gauge on next to it, right?
Correct. Same value, based upon same value, I can give a range. Anything more than 11,000, for example, 10,000, something like that.
So you pick. So instead of the sales, instead of text, you over here, if you want both the text and the you want both, you have to create two expressions.
Right. I have done that.
Change this to a LED gauge settings. Over here you have the minimum and the 0.
Yeah.
So, okay, no, this is the LED gauge, sorry. Traffic light gauge. So you have the segment 1, segment 2. Based on what values we have, we'll just, I think I'll pick the margin one because that has the percentage and it is easier to demonstrate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So margin. Promote, you change it to traffic light gauge settings. So you have 0 to 1 minimum. First segment, you first uncheck this auto width segments.
Yeah.
The first segment is 0, lower bound is 0. So we'll give this as red. 0 to 40% will be red. So the second segment will start from 40%. So 40 to 70% will be yellow.
Why one?
So
It's yeah.
0 to 1, 100% is considered 0, as 1 is considered 100% and 0 is considered like 0% basically.
Okay.
This is a conversion, basically the normal percentage change. Like
Okay.
0.1 is nothing but 10%, right? So 1 is 100%. The 0.1 is 0.4 is 40%. So you add another segment called 3, which the lower bound will be 70%, and you change this to green.
Lower bound, lower bound is to be given everywhere or only for one? Segment 3.
For everywhere. So basically, it's like you in Excel, you know the conditional formatting, right?
Yeah.
Have you used Excel?
Yeah.
In Excel, in Microsoft Excel, you have the something called as conditional formatting. So over here also you give the lower bounds and upper bounds, right? From this value to this value you give this. Over here instead of give, there is no, basically for the segment 1, the lower bound is 0 for the but the upper bound is the lower bound of segment 2. So instead of giving we don't give a upper bound, we just pick the lower bounds. So that becomes the range. So 70% to 100% is green. That's what. And you have different
why
formatting.
there are three LEDs are coming only? You know, I was
because
traffic light or there is another gauge which takes only.
Maybe it's just about settings, so we have traffic light, line gauge. You have. I think it's about settings, so we'll have to go modify the settings.
I tried my best. I am getting this 3 now.
You're getting the 3?
Yeah.
Okay. You want only 1?
Only 1.
Okay. It's just a matter of playing around with these settings instead of going there.
No, the problem is you have 3 segments and 3 buttons coming. That's the problem.
No, you have an option to have only 1 button. It's just that immediately I'm not able to find it. So maybe it's just that. So you have the single light, yeah. Okay, I cancelled that off. It's a matter of playing around with basically with all these gauges. You have the traffic light gauge settings. Over here you pick single light. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it shows single light. So it's just the options are available. You just have to do a little bit of research and do it. So,
okay. No, I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are about the different ways of representations
Right.
that are there. So you can give something like this. Now here the variables are used. So this value is stored into variables and like all the top 10s are shown. I'm just trying to find a good example for set analysis. So you have the 2011 and the 2010 data. So how do we find out the variance in the same table? So we'll just dimensions. If I'll just take you to the expressions. So first we sum. This is a typical sum and a sum statement, sum expression. But something that comes over here. Now this is called as a set expression that we bring into the picture. This this is called as a set analysis expression. What we're doing is whatever the selections that are done in Qlikview, apart from that we are picking particular selection in a field called current year. So it's basically for the current year, and we are aggregating the sales amount. For the previous year, we basically do a current year minus 1, so, and we pick the sales amount. Now this is the comparison that I was talking. Set analysis, for this in a typical traditional BI you have to create two tables. Over here it is basically just plain Jane, you can use set analysis and you make the selection. Okay, first selection is the current year 2011, second selection is the previous year 2010, and you compare both the values in a single table. Set analysis is basically a bigger topic in Qlikview, and it has a lot of in-depth knowledge for that.
You will be covering most of it, and also you will be providing documentation, right?
Yeah, documentation is basic reference manual. No, there's no book. Say I am I am hooked on to the internet, and the best way to learn is Qlikview community. I am sure everybody is everybody aware of that? Yeah.
Right.
So that is one place to learn, and it is the biggest place that you can get information.
Right. Yeah.
And whatever documents that I have personally, maybe I can forward that to you and share those things. And reference manual has bit by bit, step by step things to it. It just becomes too much time to read. Maybe once after the training, if you are stuck with something, you can just go quickly scan through those reference manual and get data about. Get a hang of it.
So with the classes, totally it's like 30 hours, right?
Yeah, 30 hours. I have to discuss that with the big classes. Maybe based on everybody's feedback and the comfortable time, we'll pick a time and we can have daily 2 hours, 5 days a week kind of a section I'm planning. So that we can spend daily 2 hours trying to cover few topics in a day. So that you get time to practice for the whole day.
People come from different skill sets or with different expectations. So how do we? Is it individual classes you can conduct?
I am not sure. Individual will become, maybe we can group it. So as like the group now, like Sajid is expert, maybe for him and somebody else who is the same level, we can conduct a class.
Yeah,
the people
but
who are starting
I am mostly a business analyst, so I am talking from mostly functional side.
Okay.
So I will have lots of things to ask you related with when it comes to the financial analysis.
Okay.
So
okay, maybe we'll have discussions about it. This is just a demo class to let you know what I can train or how I can train. If you guys are comfortable, you can send out your feedbacks to bigclasses.com. They will get into. I will discuss all these aspects, and probably we can talk individually. We'll scope out, and I will try to group classes at a different levels.
Can you also give training on admin side or just developing and design? I'm seeing only admin sector.
That's what. I think this is to start with admin is to start. Now, what kind of admin you are expecting in the sense?
Like I also want to learn like admin role, like installing the server and configuration, those type of scenarios.
Yeah, I can take you through that. Maybe I'll add that installing the server. Frankly speaking, installing the server takes 15-20 minutes. It's similar to how you installed it on your desktop. It has. It gets complicated when you do clustering and all. Now that becomes too advanced session to bring that at a very early point. Let's see how the training goes. Maybe we can discuss, and specifically we can choose topics and do a 1 hour or a 2 hour session.
Okay.
Hello.
I would appreciate. Yeah.
Like I am totally new to Qlikview and BI. I have no experience in BI. So is it possible? Do you think I'll be able to understand by attending this class? because I don't want to enroll and then probably find it a little too advanced for me. So that's the reason I'm asking.
So we'll be starting from the scratch. Now you don't have, what kind of experience you have? You have any other work experience or?
Yeah. I work on Teradata.
So you have knowledge about database, right? So you're not new to the database concepts and all. Now the analytics concepts might be new, maybe as when we start training and if you put in effort and learn. This will be from the basics. So as I was telling, we'll group the classes from the scratch, intermediate level and the advanced level, not separate this thing. So we can put you to the basics classes where you'll get to learn how exactly the database and all looks. Now the business knowledge is that is required, that maybe you'll have to acquire it over a period of time. Nobody will be able to acquire it immediately.
Business knowledge?
I mean, basically you can, business knowledge in the sense the analytics involves business knowledge. So if you are writing a finance application, you need to know what is a debit and credit. So that kind of business knowledge I'm telling.
Okay.
Maybe you can write down your emails to detailing your queries. I'll reply in more detail to individual people. Yeah, somebody was talking, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Fahad, this is Gangadhar here. I have a pure SAP CRM functional consulting experience actually. I am very new to this Qlikview and BI and all. So what's your advice on this actually?
I'm sorry, you're SAP functional consultant, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, you'd be involved in a lot of work from designing the SAP tables and extracting data, running them and storing in SAP, right? I mean, functional consultant is basically you define business, you map business to the database. That is what my understanding is.
Correct, but this specific requirement which I'm going to work is basically into the Qlikview. This is going to be a new requirement altogether for me here in USA.
Right.
Okay. So my background is SAP CRM. Okay, so I'm not sure how far I can be able to pick it up all this. So what's your advice basically on this?
See, again, you can start from the basic class. You can like over a period of time start practicing. Now in SAP, like as far as I know, functional consultants, they are involved into a lot of things. I mean, I assume even you are involved into mapping the business requirements to the tables and creating the fields in SAP, updating data, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So now you will be doing it through Qlikview. Now you will be using Qlikview to connect to SAP, extract data, and create reports. Now, based on if there is a master data, or sorry, I'll pick a right one.
But
they have a
no, like whatever we have discussed, that is something like an SQL query. I'm not aware about how to write these queries and all. This is where I'm a bit worried.
Okay. Yeah, that I think you might need to practice. No, or maybe we'll need to have a particular discussion.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Fahad. Thanks, bye.
Thank you.